Fistful, you want to introduce our amazing speaker? I know you guys been in touch. There was a little bit of jokes before the before the session started. Alana, do you want to share your screen again in the meantime?
Yeah, so everyone, welcome back. Another DWeb brother, I guess you would say. Everybody says the DWeb stack is HNS, Akash, and Skynet. So it's really great to have Akash speaking here today, talk more about their protocol and how it interacts with Handshake and whatnot. But I'll just let
Alani.
I'll let Alani take it away. We've already eaten away at enough of his time. So yeah, you go ahead and give your presentation.
All right, first things first. You can all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you clearly.
Yep.
Great, awesome. All right, hello everyone. Thank you to the Handshake Institute, Michael and the team for having Akash as part of HandyCon. It's been a wonderful event so far, entertaining, enlightening, and insightful, actually. I am Alani, Technical Program Manager at Akash, and today I will be discussing why Web3 and decentralization matters, what we do at Akash, our relationship with Handshake, and what we see ahead in the future. And I will open it up for discussion right afterwards. So I will share my screen here. Bear with. Okay. In a moment. All right, first slide. This is beautiful. Okay, so for my presentation tonight, I'll be visiting, as I said earlier, why decentralization matters, why Web3 matters, and how we're bridging technical and functional use cases. As I said earlier, my name is Alani. Some of you have seen me in some of the Akash videos. And for those who don't know me, well, I am Alani. I'm often imitated, but never replicated. Keep that in mind. So, when we look at a brief introduction to centralization, what's going on with my screen here? All right. What I'm going to talk about is very briefly look at how we got here. Everyone remember the initial, yahoo.com poster child for Web 1, which, Web 1 was very, very focused on community governance and some elements of decentralization. The protocols were generally open, and the value actually accrued to the edges of the network, to users and builders. So think of it as, let's build something. Everybody come in with their ideas and let's explore. That's fantastic. But as we know, humans, we will bastardize everything. Yahoo was great. Cluttered web page, a lot of information, too much in too little time. Fast forward just over a decade after that to Web 2, which was very siloed, centralized services run by a few corporations. Basically, what Web 2 has done is to socialize the costs while privatizing the gains. What that means is a handful of companies like Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook, what do? They control the value, and that value goes to them. Again, socialize the cost, privatize the gains. So here comes Web 3. We decentralize the ecosystem, right? Community governance, an ethos based on decentralization with the advanced modern functionality of Web 2 while building on top of that. And it's owned by the builders and the users and orchestrated with tokens as a means to incentivize participation. Now, where does Akash fit into that? Now, Akash is the world's first decentralized and open source cloud. We accelerate deployment, scale, efficiency, and price performance for high growth industries like blockchain and machine learning and artificial intelligence. Now, the principle behind the Unstoppable Cloud is fully sovereign cloud infrastructure that cannot be challenged or taken down by adversaries and hackers. And the Unstoppable Cloud movement in itself enables the creators of the future to build with more freedom, and it gives people control over their data. What that means is you can never be deplatformed, period. And I'm going to go, one step further, and I will illustrate this, and I'll bring it, full circle in a minute. So in those decentralized clouds, it means anybody can be a provider. So think of it as every website or app that you go to today, hosted on the cloud. It means servers are leased by big companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and others. And what Akash does is disrupt this centralization of resources by providing a decentralized network of server providers, and it gives the possibility for anybody capable to rent, compute, and capacity on spare machines, and they can earn an extra income. So you can make money on that old gaming machine that's been sitting in your basement accumulating dust. Think Airbnb, but for cloud computing. And on the other hand, anyone who wants to host an app or a website can now do that at a fraction of the cost. And now to fulfill the transactions done between the parties, Akash uses the blockchain technology so that all the transactions are transparent, fast, global, and cheap. And Akash is part of the Cosmos ecosystem because it's built with the Cosmos SDK. Now, furthermore, how do we deploy an app on Akash? Well, we leverage Kubernetes container orchestration to provide the maximum flexibility in terms of what applications can be deployed on our network. So basically, if your application is containerized with Docker, it can run on Akash. The only thing you need are the AKT tokens to pay for the computing, and then voila, you can deploy your app in a few steps. For example, a request for compute storage, which means persistent storage as well, or hosting is made, and providers are able to bid on that request. Providers bid. As a requester, you look at the bids that you have. Is it price accommodating? What that means is, do you have the price elasticity? Do you have the right configuration? And more importantly, is that provider highly rated by other users? In a nutshell, Akash gives control back to the requester while sharing the same control level of control with the provider. So it's an end-to-end marketplace that ensures that everyone has transparency, elasticity, and more importantly, ownership, self-sovereign. Now the user selects the bid they want. A provider won the bid, and the user configures the lease or confirms the lease and sends the escrow, which is then held via AKT tokens. The stack definition language file is basically a manifest. A manifest, a file that tells you, here's the configuration I want, 24 gigs, 60 gigabit RAM, however much storage you want, this is what I need. And so basically the customer and tenants define the deployment services, data centers, requirements, and pricing parameters in a manifest. It's a YAML file, and that file is written in a declarative language called the software definition language. And that SDL in itself is a human-friendly data standard for declaring deployment attributes. And that file is a form, for lack of a better term, for declaring or to request resources from the network. And it's compatible with the YAML standard and similar to Docker compose files. You can also then point to a handshake domain from within the Akashlytics deployed tool. Seamless. Now, full disclosure, we're in the middle of testnet 3. Many of you have heard about testnet 3 that Akash is currently over the last 2 weeks, and we put about almost $250,000 up for grabs to those who participate. So SSL support will be coming in about a month from now once we complete testnet 3 at the end of this weekend. So that's fantastic news coming from Akash. You heard it first. That was actually breaking news today. Furthermore, the provider turns that SDL file into a running container. Boom, done. And what do you have? It just works. And this is an infinitely repeatable process at scale globally. So when we talk about ownership, self-sovereignty, transparency, community-driven, Akash is the perennial challenger and disruptor, period. And with a healthy ecosystem, including great partners like Handshake, together we are laying siege on centralization, period. Now, that being said, just as I actually said this before the slide, this is an infinitely repeatable process. So it doesn't end somewhere. As new blocks are created, we bring in new validators, new providers, new partners, both tactical and strategic. Very soon, grandma will be able to deploy family photos on Akash. Okay, a college freshman will be able to make an income by leasing out idle compute capacity and persistent storage on their machine while they're not using it. Those are simple use cases. Journalists who do not want to be deplatformed, activists, bloggers, gamers, okay, DeFi applications, among many others, currently deploy on Akash, and in the very near future, there will be an escalation in that number of deployments globally. Furthermore, which applications currently run on the D cloud, on the decentralized cloud? Powered by Akash.com is an environment you can go in to see some of the platforms today that are currently deployed on Akash. Some of these are very familiar entities: Osmosis, Redcoin, Polygon, ColdStack, Juno, Chandra Station, among many others. And you can go to that URL, the list grows almost daily. And those are the ones we recognize. There are a whole lot more that are not on this list. Now, if I may, what's my next slide? All right. So now, why does Web3 matter? The problem: freemium, public trust, institutional accountability. Today, you surrender your personal data in order to use services. Going back to my prior point around a few members of a cartel socialize the cost and they privatize the gains. That is fundamentally unacceptable when you look at the core tenets of decentralization. You surrender your personal data, use free services provided like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and of course, Facebook. Public trust, right? When you have control by certain entities who are beholden to regulators and vice versa, that by design brings the issue of public trust into question. And then institutional accountability, which today, as we know, is zero, because the current world requires trust in institutions that we increasingly cannot hold accountable. The best question to ask anyone in crypto is, where do you live? There's always a 3-second period of silence. I've actually had someone within a similar event just said, I work in crypto. I'm not going to tell you where I live. It happens all the time. And that's because, again, you never know who's looking. So we look at these issues, that disincentivize decentralization and empowerment, and it begs the question, what does this mean? Who gains? Who profits? Who loses? Now, the solution, and this is one among many issues we have to contend with. And in what, the centralized platforms have historically served as an intermediary. They have access to all of your data and they dictate the user experience via algorithmic social feeds that determine which posts you see, among many other things. People have been debanked, people have been deplatformed, among many things, just because institutions determine they don't like you. In Web3, that centralization goes away, and you have a peer-to-peer system, and there are no longer gatekeepers that determines what we see. Now, the solution with Web3 and why it matters is because we have incentivized participation where tokens and coins align the network participants to work together towards a common objective. And the growth of the network and the appreciation of the token and or coin, which incentivizes the growing collective, drives adoption, drives innovation, and further strengthens these networks and Web3 as a whole. And its permissionless nature by design means anyone can use it without having to generate access credential or get permission from a provider. There are no gatekeepers. And the collective accountability means we all say yes or say no. And it's transparent. Everything is registered on chain. And instead of the centralized nature of servers, data is stored on the network. Changes are recorded on the blockchain via, again, network verification. So what then happens is this fixes the core problem of centralized networks, because the value instead of being accumulated by one entity, and the entity ends up fighting its own users, as we've seen with Facebook and other centralized entities, okay, the value is accumulated by the entire ecosystem. That's full decentralization and democratization. Self-sovereign, immutable, transparent. Now, what lies ahead? Web 3.2, Web 4, who knows? But we are at the fourth turning, because we've seen the journey from Web 1, 2, 3. We're in the thick of 3 right now. And the time between the transitional period increasingly gets shorter and shorter, because obviously as technological advances take the day, what we then see is innovation is further bolstered. Now, without the network, without connectivity, everything's a moot point. If we took down access points today, if we took down, ISPs or their equivalents, the blockchain is useless, because without the network, nothing happens. So what lies ahead is we're going to see decentralized fluid mesh networks, perhaps a new protocol. Furthermore, we might see smart DeFi, where you have fully composable artificial intelligence that builds on-chain AMMs, automated market makers, and liquidity pools in the case of DeFi, and a frictionless and disintermediated ecosystem. And HNS plays a vital role in that. Strategically, Akash and his ecosystem of partners, as I said earlier, has laid siege on centralization. That's not going to end anytime soon. We look forward to this growing ecosystem. And I leave you with these words, that resolve will always prevail over temerity if the cause is just. So that being said, you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow Akash as well. I'm always available for questions. I'm going to throw the floor open. And to the HNS team, muchas gracias. Thank you. Thank you well. Danke. Obrigado. Gracias. Any questions?
All right, here, yeah, we definitely got some questions over here. I'm just going to show them on stage. Can you see them?
That's a very good question. Now, no industry platform or process is immune from meritocracy. What that means is, if you have the resources and you can support larger asks, so be it. If you have resources that can only support a simple WordPress site, so be it. So there will always be elasticity when it comes to capacity. So the answer to that is yes. Go ahead, my CEO. Brandy, out.
Yeah, a lot of people love this talk. Great job, Alani. And here I'm showing another question here.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we just onboarded a new partner, Praetor. Praetor is a seamless GUI-based deployment tool where you can become a provider, or if you want to just set up, you want to spin up an instance. As a matter of fact, one of the things I will encourage you all to do is, for those who want to understand the ecosystem as a whole, just look at what people are building, who's building on Akash and who's building on what. And from a product management perspective, you should always listen to how people use your application and platform. Tells you the story of what they want to do with it. And it tells you what you should be building and expending resources on. And Akash is not immune to that. We've seen a lot of that as well, where people come from outside and build tools on top of the Akash platform that does exactly that. GUI-based point, click, click. Because look, let's be frank. CLI is how developers like to flex their muscles. Okay. And not a whole lot of people want to deal with the CLI. So that's a very good question. And we'll continue to see a lot of touch-free type tools in the very near future.
All right, awesome. That is great to hear. We're always looking to onboard the lowest technical possible user, make the playing field a little bit more level for everybody.
Thank you. Okay, Isaiah, I see you. Through their Akash deploy, list the WordPress the same, so we're limited to just name HNS domains. So after testnet 3 is complete, this capability will be coming to Akash, as a matter of fact. So keep an eye out.
All right, awesome.
And I will personally be in the Discord channel as well, supporting all the other efforts going on as part of HandyCon. So you haven't seen the last of me. How do you feel about capture will shape the user's perception of it? So content is only as good as who's consuming it, right? So Akash often gives you the ability. I mean, you can host just about anything. Now, a user's perception of content value, you can host a blog or a video, whatever you want to host. However, bringing users to view and consume content is always the onus. That's on you, basically. So we don't control the value of the content. So you own your content. So I would assume you would have a solid, marketing strategy around it. I mean, we will make it available and immutable and self-sovereign, and we'll support the platform. And you will not be the platform, but you have to get it in front of the people who need to look at it. But we'll support that.
All right, awesome. And then we got one from Johnny Woo.
Johnny. So one main takeaway benefit of using Akash is self-sovereignty, immutability, transparency. 3 in 1, basically. Decentralized.
All right, awesome, great. There's a ton of questions rolling in. I'm trying to get to as many as I can during this session. Here, let's do this one.
Chad, D.centralized. I love that. Which bandwidth blocking project do you think we could see that will work with Akash in the future? That's a very good question, because Akash by design, remember, Akash is open source. So you can go on our GitHub, everything's there. You can build anything on Akash. That's the elasticity at scale that Akash supports and gives you. So if you have a great idea and you want to build, let's go.
All right. Let me do this one right here.
Doesn't the appreciation of the token make the service quickly unaffordable for the user's grandma can afford? So as part of testnet 3, okay, for those who don't know, we actually have fractional AKT, auth-z, persistent storage, among many other features. So it's not enough, we control for inflation among other things. So things like auth-z allows you to actually delegate your wallet. You can let someone else spend on your behalf. In addition to fractional AKT, you can tell them spend only 10% of 1 AKT, which could be 20 cents, for example. So we have there are measures and controls as part of that effort that will be coming out in the next release. So we are wrapping up testnet 3 as we speak, and the solution to your specific question is in the next version coming out in about a month or so. So Dire Wolf, good question.
All right, and then I guess this kind of wraps in with testnet 3. I don't know, maybe you want to talk a little bit more about how long that's going on, what the prizes are, and everything like that.
Okay, very quick. So we are wrapping up testnet 3 this weekend. So if you want to get on there, get on now. So testnet, we started 2 weeks ago, and we put up about $200,000+ up for grabs. Everything from testing persistent storage, testing auth-z, testing, delegating separate functions, testing tokens, trying to misbehave, finding bugs, bounties, all kinds. It's still on. So just go to akash.network and you'll see the link for testnet 3. Or you can go to Akash Network's YouTube page, right? I break down every specific challenge, every specific task, and you have the link to the specific tasks in those challenges. So that'll be the fastest and the easiest way to get on, like, now, tonight, after HandyCon. There's money up for grabs. Get it fast.
All right, cool. And then we'll make this one our last question for today before we switch over to a break.
Okay. Or is the provision utility of the natural incentive? So the AKT token you can trade on most exchanges. That's one to start with. You need a Kepler wallet for that, and obviously we're part of the Cosmos ecosystem. So that's incentive from a provider perspective. I mean, you're not going to, deploy compute on your machines for free. Last I checked, nothing's really free. If anyone tells you anything's free, put your hands back in your pocket. But that being said, yes, the token is an incentive in itself, but also, it also helps expand the Akash ecosystem simply because you have, all the blockchains that are participating within the Akash ecosystem. You have all the technologies that are involved as well. But also, I mean, they're also activists. Believe it or not, we have activist developers who just want to do something to bolster the decentralization movement. So you just got to pick which side of that of the ecosystem you want to dwell in. But like I said, Akash is an open platform, open source, exponentially scalable. And with every day that passes, that ecosystem is growing. And thanks to partners like, HNS, I would say that's actually, exponentially, it's to the power of N at this point. So get on board as fast as you can.
All right, awesome. Well, Alani, thank you for coming and talking today. It was great to have you. Got us pretty excited, especially with having SSL support within Akash. That's something a lot of our devs we're looking forward to. So that's going to be really great. And I think we'll see more HNS sites being used in tandem with Akash in the future for sure.
Fistful, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I'm enjoying HandyCon. Michael, nice shades. I'm gonna send
yeah, man.
And yeah, everybody, we love you all. And Akash is always here. Remember, decentralization, decentralization.
We appreciate you too. Yeah, thanks a lot. It was really, we got really great feedback in your presentation. So, and yeah, definitely everyone take part in this hackathon. And Alani's here. He's been more than supportive of this conference and the hackathon and helping people on board to build. Like, that's the whole point, right? We want people to build. A lot. I know there's people speculating on the names and trading names, but building is the best way to add value to the network, right? So it's great that you're here to support us and support developers. So thank you.
Thank you, sirs and ma'ams.
Yeah, and I just want to tag on a little bit about the hackathon as well. Well, first, if you want to participate in Akash's Testnet 3 in their Discord, you can find all of their info there. It's wrapping up this weekend, so if you want to get involved, you better get involved right now. And then we also have our content website building hackathon. All we want to see is content on HNS TLDs. So I'll be posting a couple of links
or Alani in the chat for Discord.
Yeah, I just posted a Discord and a tweet for our hackathon and just a Twitter post that you guys could share around. You can win up to 2.5K HNS just for building, just for putting content on a Handshake site. So it's a good little weekend project. Building ends on the 23rd, so you got a couple of days to get some up and running. And we are also partnered with Akash and Sia and opened up some categories with them. So if you build a site with Handshake and Akash, there's just more prizes to be won.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out, guys.
Guys, there is so much free money.
So much. we want to give you money.
It's mailbox money. Just get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I shared your tweet in the session chat too. And there's a few different chat rooms. So definitely.
Yes. So if you guys could share those links around, that would help us a lot. But we're gonna cut to a break, and then we'll be back talking about hardware and the DWeb. So we'll see you guys back in a
panel. It'll be a panel session. So
yeah, that's gonna be fun, guys. Definitely show up.
All right, thank you, everybody.
All right.
Kinetic is a blockchain crypto investment firm based in Hong Kong and Puerto Rico. Founded in 2016, they were the first fund in Hong Kong and one of the earliest in Asia. With a portfolio of over 220 companies, they were seed investors in such projects as Ethereum, Parity and Polkadot, Solana, FTX and of course Handshake and Namebase. Founder Johan Chu is an active investor and supporter of the Handshake ecosystem. Over 100,000 domains, co-founder of DWeb Foundation, co-founder of HandyCon, and sponsor of the Handshake House at Miami Hack Week 2022.